You, the cat just fled, are now about to witness the awesome, crushing might of, wait for it, yeah, my third still messed up. Good, dizzy. Held that note too long. Welcome, my friends, to a very serious show that never, ever ends, apparently, at least until not round 251. I am your host, Eugene S. Robinson, sitting in my underwear. Because I washed the pants. And while I do have more than one pair of pants, I don't wear more than one pair of pants. This is round 311, MMA Dead Week, sort of, kind of. So we've got MMA stuff to talk about, but a lot more than that. But let's let the intro play through. We'll jump in. I believe Joe Rogan called me. I'll talk about that in a second. The sound that says it all, Stigmata, Calling of the Just. Song is called Intro, All of Nothing. Could not seem so clear. I'm taking a real good look at your face. So being paid back in full, always nothing. All right. That's it. We got the top of the hour. You guys have voted no more music during the show because it occludes, it interferes, obscures the sound of my voice. Look, I had a very serious email exchange with one of yous. Yous know who you are. The guy said, Eugene, your stories interfere with, is your narcissistic thing a shtick? Because your stories are interfering with me enjoying the good points that you're trying to make. To me, they're indistinguishable. You pulled up next to me on a bar stool. What can I say? At a certain point, you might excuse yourself to go to the bathroom and come back, and maybe I'll get to the point I was trying to make that you can listen to without the prelude, but I got to tell it like I see it, and I see it like I think it, and I think it like I feel it. So this is Knuckle Up. It's like coming to the Eugene Robinson show and being upset that there's a Eugene Robinson doing a Eugene Robinson show, or being in Boston Market and upset that Boston Market is a place that you hate to be when you go to Boston Market. It's Knuckle Up. It is what it is. This is round number 311. And before we get into the serious stuff, you have asked me to finish off something I promised on round number 313, which was live from Poland and was my Polish story. And it's a 1-minute story. I don't want to bore the rest of you who are Kevin for 311, that terrible band, 311. But as you know, given the 9-hour time difference and my dedication to my craft, as it were, I decided to do it. I watched the whole fight, and then did the show post facto. I was like, somebody said, oh, it'll come on at midnight. I wasn't really thinking clearly. I was like, midnight, so it'll go until 2. I can do the show. I'll be in bed by 4. In actual fact, I was never in bed. The show finished at like 8:30 in the morning. I slept fitfully for about half an hour and was up and out the door, right? So as luck would have it, I go to a social event, dinner, nice people, beautiful people, beautiful place. And, You know, everybody's sitting around there. Just imagine drinking fine wine out of goblets and you know, a thousand weave tablecloths and you know, and crystal and whiskey that was out of $2,000 whiskey. Imagine that, if you will. And I'm sitting and I've had like 45 minutes of sleep and that wonderful postprandial moment after the gnocchi and the whiskey and the fine wine and the champagne. After that, I'm eating in this gentle conversation shared among likes and you know, a-likes. And I apparently at this point said, I am very tired. And I was sitting on a divan. So you know, like a longish couch. And after the drink and the talk and the chatter, I kind of leaned back. And I'm talking, and I imagine I was being very entertaining in my talk. And apparently what happened next is enough to get you disinvited from any the fine, you know, finest Epicurean establishments in the world, cross global, 6,000 miles away, international incident. I pass out at the table. Oh, people are understanding. The man was up all night. This is an explanation that they understand. He was up all night. You know, he's here and his eyes are closed. I probably fell asleep mid-sentence, but this is not a bad thing necessarily. Then, of course, because it's me, I up-level it. And I start snoring. So it's easy to ignore a man who's sleeping. Not so easy to ignore a man who's sleeping and snoring. Snoring and sleeping at the finest, wealthiest that you could imagine place. And of course, never to be outdone. Never to be outdone in terms of outrageous, outre social mores. I'm sleeping, and now I'm snoring, and apparently I found this out after I woke up to be hustled out. I found that I was passing gas copiously. So I'm sleeping, snoring, passing gas, drooling. I come to, and I was quickly escorted from the premises because I had committed, you know, it was Poland, but they have social graces. And I go, for what? Key bono. Who benefited from my ruining my internet? You think James Bond did that? Do you think at any point in Casino Royale, James Bond passed out at the baccarat table, started snoring, drooling, and farting? Do you think James Bond did that? No. In fact, as an adult human being, do you know any adult human beings who have done that? Any adult human beings ever? The only thing I could thank my lucky graces for is that nobody had the presence of mind to pick up their camera and record it, because it would be oh so funny to serve it up on Bloody Elbow, Eugene sleeping and drooling and farting in a fine dining establishment while people sat around in tuxedos and evening wear. How do you like that? You know, how do you like that? Shit. Oh, somebody once came to an Oxbow show and said, I think, you know, American bands typically come here and give them a little bit of America. I think you gave them too much of America. Giving them too much of America since 1962 is what it's all about, baby. Anyway, Knuckle Up 311. I am your host, Eugene S. Robinson. And my voice, first of all, you notice my voice has been like this for a couple of weeks. You notice when it came on. Now I'm in full-blown panic mode. I know I told you one of the earmarks of adulthood is male adulthood is shouldering your burden without complaint. I'm not complaining in this instance. I'm just noting. Because as luck would have it, I went to a work event yesterday, and some guy just starts telling me the story about this friend of his. Guy had a stomach ache, goes to the doctor. Doctor, I think I got an ulcer. Bing, stomach cancer, 6 weeks later, dead. 37 years old, good shape. No smoking, no bad habits. Guy was a drinker. Oh, how much was an alcoholic? As a drinker. You know, drinks, a couple of drinks a night, every night. Oh, well, family history of it? Not that I know. So my voice is hoarse. Somebody said, it's allergies. I don't have allergy symptoms. My ears are not itching. My eyes are not watering. The Popeye's got it, but I don't have them. So, well, you're a singer. Yeah, well, maybe you've got, who knows what I got. I could be going out like Sammy Davis Jr. So enjoy this show while you can. Anyway, I'm going to the doctor Tuesday. I got 4 things wrong with me. I got my thumb fractured. I got my Achilles tendon screwed up. I got this throat thing, and I think I got to go for the eyes again. So anyway, or maybe, who knows, get the tonsils removed. It could be benign. It could be serious. Anyway, I want to talk about what's first and foremost on my mind. And it's not MMA related specifically, but it will get around to that for those of you who have the patience. So anyway, nightclub. There was a nightclub in the meatpacking industry on the west side in the 70s in New York. Some guy goes over to the leather bars over there, and it was clear to me that he was high on some psycho. He was seeing purple trailers. So he had mushrooms, acid. I don't know. I'm not going to blame the drug. He went over and he shot some people up at this club. But of course, this is pre-AIDS. So that, pre-AIDS and pre-lack of AIDS sympathy. So it was like, well, crazy shit happens. People shined it. So a la the Paris shootings, it has now come to the Boston bombing has now come to Orlando. You got these guys, this cat at Orlando, Mateen is his last name, Mateen or Omar Mateen, I don't remember. It's not important to me necessarily what his name is. Goes into a gay nightclub in Orlando and shoots the place up and kills 50 people. This just happened. Do you remember that scene in The Godfather after the assassination attempt on Don Corleone's life? And Michael starts to take over the business, and he tells him, look, this is what's going to happen. What's going to happen is somebody's going to approach you about setting up a meeting with Barzini. The person who approaches you to set the meeting with Barzini will be from our side. It'll be somebody you trust, and that will be the traitor in the organization, because on your way to this meeting with Barzini, you will be assassinated. So essentially, he uses the line that my oft-quoted line from Hamlet, if they but blench, I know my course. I woke this morning to the news, and I started to fucking wait. I started to wait. The first person to come to you with a deal is a traitor. So I'm looking at the political maneuvering, and I'm thinking, who will be the first person to the ambulance? Or that famous story, The Crowd, where this guy notices that everybody who gets hit by a car, and he gets surrounded by a crowd, gets way too close, moves the body, everything you're not supposed to do with an accident victim, and the victims eventually end up dying. Turns out it's the souls or people killed in other car accidents, and then they realize that he has pegged them, and so then he, of course, gets into a car accident and they close in. So who is going to close in first? I wake up this morning and this is the first thing confronting me. So I start to think, does Donald Trump play this for advantage? Does Trump play this for advantage? Does he say, aha, the attacker was Muslim? I read a little bit more. The attacker was American born. Okay, so your plan to either deport or prevent the entry of Muslims or so-called refugees, can't do it. So Trump is slowed. He can't get to the finish line because he doesn't know how this is playing out. If a guy was a foreign national, he would be there. It would be part of the immigration debate. It's not. The NRA is like, oh shit, oh shit. Well, how soon is too soon to make the claim that if everybody in that club had been armed, this wouldn't have happened? Should we say, well, we don't know. The guy could have got the guns illegally. Boom, the news story hits. Legally obtained guns. He had just bought them from a gun store. This is on the heels of the Friday night shooting of the teenage singer girl. Listen, people tell me I'm going to go with Bibi Netanyahu here, who said, given the history of my people on this planet, if I have a choice between overreacting and underacting, I'm going to choose to overreact. You know, so this guy, she's signing autographs. So the guy goes, boom, shoots her, then shoots himself. So, you know, the perpetrator was got at what cost? Oxbow's on the stage. You got to know I'm armed. This is not really a solution. I'm getting off track. We don't want to talk about me. It comes on the track. Another guy who legally purchased the guns. So the NRA is stymied. They can't get to the line. It's like, oh, shit, we don't want to talk about this. Guys legally purchased the guns. We got to. Okay, Obama has got to give a freaking speech. He's got to give a speech coming up, like he did at Newtown, like he did at the what was the other one? The Newtown Boston Marathon. He's got to come out and give a speech, and of course he's thoroughly sick and tired of giving these speeches. But you know our legislators will do nothing. All right, so will Hillary be the first one there to say this is what I've been talking about with the NRA? That she used it to try to pick off some more disaffected, maybe Bernie fans, because Bernie had been supportive of gun rights coming from Vermont. Is it a gun rights issue? Is it an LGBT issue? You know, these, you know, Southern politicians who are playing anti-LGBT feeling for personal gain. No, this guy is an ISIS sympathizer. So it's an ISIS thing. Is it a foreign policy issue? And so far, here we are at about 6:18, and I got up this morning at about 7:18. So, you know, all over 12 hours later, we still haven't had anybody pull up with their running shoes on the start line to start claiming or playing this for political advantage, because everybody is out like this. They're putting the finger up in the air, trying to figure out where. And of course, your Facebook feed, if it's like my Facebook feed, people are like, don't give me your anti-Muslim bullshit. You know, this is not about that. You people are disgusting. This is not, which is a variation of playing it for, you know, is lining up on the line, as is my talking about it now. This is what's meta, and I'm fully aware of it, but it's in my mind. I don't want to be talking about the show and then I got this thing on my mind, you know, and I have to say, you know, I don't think there are any compelling, easy solutions, but I'm going to go with what I've seen work. and what I've seen work, if you go, and it is impractical for me to take the micro and go macro, but I'm going to take the micro and go macro. If you spend any time in Israel at all, you go to Israel, Tel Aviv's version of Safeway. Everybody is armed. Everybody's armed. You know, they got the guards, they have guns. Everybody's armed. You know, and I don't want to be like the Eagles of Death Metal guys saying the solution is that everybody be armed. I'm not saying that. It's the deaf cat right next to me who knocked a bunch of very expensive meringues on the floor. So the deaf cat has without yowling, has managed to upend the show. So, I'm not saying the solution is to arm everybody. Typically, they just had a shooting at a market in Tel Aviv. The guy shot somebody, and then he was shot. Or maybe he shot two people, and then he was shot. You know, I mean, people there are trained. It's a smaller country. The threats are more easily identifiable. You know, America's got a big floor plan, so to speak. And if you ask any, I mean, Israel, by my lights, is essentially still on a war footing. What do you call it when missiles get fired on your beaches, people are blowing themselves up on your buses and stabbing your citizens? It's not New York 1980. It's Israel every day. It happens. This is not like the unsympathetic response that we got from some of our friends in Israel after 9/11, which was, now you know what it's like. Okay, we got it. We got it. But I want to point to something else here, because this is knuckle up style. I want to point to about 2 hours ago, I trained, and I went to Petco. All right, and I went to Petco to buy some shit for Popeye. I had some flea stuff, and I'm talking to the guy at the counter. I'm talking to the guy at the counter, bullshitting about what I'm buying. And I bring Popeye home, I give him a bath, and I start to think about this guy. I go, you know, that guy was pretty nice, and he was pretty smart guy. And I remember some girl coming into my store when I owned a store, and she said, "You're a Stanford graduate. What are you doing working in this dump?" I go, "Great, thanks. I own this dump." And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." I go, "No, it's kind of a dump. The carpet's dirty, but I think it's part of the charm." So this guy could own this place. There was another guy in there who was working. He could also own the place. There was a woman in there who was they all could be owners. I doubt it. At some point or another, these adult human beings, one of them was an employee. I know a guy who works in the other Petco I usually go to. Guy's got a wife, he's got a kid. He works in Petco. He's been there 4 years. How much do you think they pay him in Petco? I don't know. I don't know how much he's paid in Petco. But I know if he works at Petco, he's not commuting from San Francisco to Petco. He's not commuting from Fremont, which is a cheaper neighborhood across the bridge here in the Northern California Bay Area, which would be about half an hour away from Petco. Nobody's commuting half an hour to work at Petco. So that means he lives locally. If he lives locally, his rent, if he's lucky for a room, is $1,000, $1,200 a month for a room. Unless he's riding a bike to work, he's got a car, he's got insurance. He's got insurance in the car, he's got upkeep, he's got gas. My point is the same point that was made in Fight Club when the guy said, "We're all around you. We serve your food. We mow your fucking lawns." America is a permeable state. And the reality of it is, how many days do you, very specifically you, it happens to me weekly, daily, where at some point during my day I go, you know what would make me feel a lot better? To straight jack somebody right in the face. And I don't work at Petco. Thank God for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Why? Why? Because you know, life is long, life is short. You can't measure. You know, annual salaries are murder because you'll find yourself living incrementally. It's like living, to quote the hip hop song, it's like living and dying at the same time. Minimum wage, not making enough, not having. So it's a perfect storm. America's discontents, even getting to a sane guy like me, America's discontents, easy access to firearms, and a relatively free society. The only thing that makes us unusual is that this guy was adhering to some sort of political ideology or political crypto-religious ideology. And the people at ISIS were gloating, but they were gloating without any real claim. Like the guy did it, like the guys in England who chopped the head off of the soldier in traffic, but it was non-affiliated. This is just what we call FSU, not Friends Stand United, fucking shit up. They say, you think most people who are spies are ideologically driven? No, they are not ideologically driven. You think most people who are spies are doing, like Aldrich Ames, are doing it? I'm talking about moles, not spies, but moles. Do you think that they're doing it because they want the cash? Certainly Aldrich Ames shows up with bags of money, driving an expensive car. That was probably part of it. Somebody did an analysis and they go, these are just discontented employees. You know, this is the guy who eats a sandwich that's not his in the refrigerator. You know, this is the person that, like the job I had where some guy was keeping a toaster under his desk because he liked to heat his Pop-Tarts, and the toaster caught a flame, and I just sat there and watched it, thinking very correctly, if this gets too far gone, I won't have to go to work tomorrow. Somebody walks in and sees the flames 4 foot high and licking up the wall. They look at the flames, and fortunately, it was such a shocking sight, they never thought to question, why was Eugene just sitting there watching it? Discontented, disgruntled employees. This land of the free, home of the brave, and of the permanently pissed off. You ever read that riots through expectation, the cargo cults, and people living in places where they don't need shit, but they got a catalog and started rioting? What is it? People, mimetic desire. Rene Girard, the philosopher, talked about is the source of all conflict. It is a source of all conflict. Mimetic desire. I see what you have. I want what you have. America has created this endless wellspring of unmet desire. You know why these guys are so opposed to the West? There was a great line from the East Side Comedy, the Bowery Boys. I don't know if you remember them. I did a piece on them on Ozzy, OZY.com. Go look it up. Just type in the Bowery Boys, Bowery Boys, the Dead End Kids. And Louis Dombrowski, who works in the sweet shop, completely politically incorrect, and this will segue into the Stanford thing. He goes, "One look at you, babe, and I want to go home and beat my wife." It was a funny line, but completely politically incorrect, especially when you got women who are living in homes with people who will eventually murder them. We will never be satisfied. Capitalism is built on that precise hunger. I am a stockholder in major corporations. If my corporation comes to me and says, well, your return on your investment in all the stock you have is 0.0. Your dividend, 0.0. Your delta increase, your growth, 0.0. I'm upset. A friend of mine once said it sagely, computer companies exist for one reason and one reason only. What's that? To sell more computers. Shit, improving your life, making life easier? Sure. So, you know, at least this way, I mean, this is the key to the disease. I'm not going to proffer any possible ways to stop it. I got nothing. Though I'm a aggressive Second Amendment guy, Obama's argument sort of makes a little bit of sense to me. It's like, you have to register a car, you get a license for a car, you get insurance for your car, and nobody is taking away your cars. And moreover, he could extend it further. It's like, nobody has come close to taking away my guns. Me and my gun friends, we have all the guns we need. Why? Because the government has invented killer micro robots. What the fuck do they need guns for? I only need a gun to protect me from you. Like in that movie, Big Bad Wolves. Maniacs are not afraid of guns. Maniacs are afraid of other maniacs. That's why they buy the guns. So, you know, hats off to the politicians who didn't stumble over themselves to release. I haven't checked the news in the last half an hour. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know if somebody has stumbled, you know, I don't know what's going on in the news since I'm talking to you. But, you know, I do know that the Donald has doubled down on a few things. And people like, Donald's going to march to it. And look, if you're a Donald fan, God love you. You know, I'm trying to stay relatively apolitical, but I have thoughts and feelings. I said, you know, what played well for the primary, man, is he going to do it for 5 months? Because that will be about 10 to 12 months of Donald, which is a lot of Donald. A lot of Donald. In other words, calling Elizabeth Warren doesn't have the same bounce that calling Jeb Bush low energy did. Doesn't, won't, didn't. You know, being able to focus, narrow your attack on Hillary, we got it. She's untrustworthy. How are you going to get through a single debate with just that? You know, but Donald is a genius. You know, because he said, I'm going to truck out Bobby Knight. I'm going to truck out Mike Tyson. I'm going to truck out Don King. Dana White is a supporter. You know what this is? Dana, the bald one, has explained it. He's like, you know, a former casino owner. These are business associates. They are cut from the same freaking cloth. Somebody just texted me, says, you are intolerant of Islam. I have actually no thoughts on Islam except to say I despise it as much as I despise every single ounce of organized religion. Yep. After 9/11, I had been a staunch defender of religion and the religious impulse. And I said, anybody starts talking to me about religion at this point, I reach for my gun. To quote, is it Goebbels or Himmler, some Nazi. You want to have a spiritual urge, a spiritual desire, that's great. The second you start talking about that to somebody else, trouble will arise. Christianity, Judaism is the only thing that makes me feel kind of okay. Why? Because they don't have a proselytizing component. In fact, if you want to convert, people inside the faith look at you like you're an idiot. I have to do, it's like that joke about two Jewish guys. One guy walks in and finds his best friend screwing his old lady. And he looks and he goes, Harry, I have to, but you? Don't proselytize. You know, we're here, we're Jews, whatever. You know, and if you want to convert, it's kind of cute, but it's like kind of strange. I know, I've been through it. So, but large Buddhism, people, Buddhism is completely, I read something, Buddhism threw some of their political opponents in the water and drowned. I mean, none of it's good. But I'm not saying people. This is fundamentally a male problem. I'm being generous. We're all being generous by saying people. When was the last time there was a woman who drove on the sidewalk in Las Vegas and killed like 2 people? But as far as I know, there have not been any women shooting up clubs, any women throwing gay dudes off of towers, any women chopping heads off or burning people up in cages. It's not happening. I could go to from sorority to sorority in America and ask, how many of you have had men here raped? How many of you raped men? How many of you have roofied men? Well, that wouldn't make any sense. You roofie a man. Oh, yeah? Talk about that guy who broke into the women's prison and he thought it'd be a great idea to charge women for sex. And after he, busted 3 nuts, was like, well, I'm kind of done. Like 18 of these women were like, well, I paid. And they grabbed his penis and they jabbed a magic marker down his urethra and taped it up. There you go. Erection problem solved. How do we know? Because Monday, when his friend the guard who had let him in there, his for-profit scheme came to pick him up, dude had to be rushed to a hospital. Bladder infection over. How often does that happen? It happens. I mean, what? I just told you that story. I remembered it enough. The fuck? Cut it out. So let's not believe it's a human problem. It's not a human problem. It's a fundamental male problem. Fundamental male problem. The guy, Persky, the judge, who the fuck is it? As luck would have it, the judge, I'm sitting around looking at this book. It's mine. And of course, I'm in here. I know some of you are dying to see me. Those of you who hate I'll give you a peek at it. Where am I? Where am I on this page? You got it? You got it? Oh, yeah, okay. So Persky is in this. Persky, the former Stanford athlete, lacrosse player, and the judge in the Brock Turner case. Right there, baby. Classmate of mine. And of course, you realize that I'm a grudge holder. I've been holding a grudge since 1984 for a lot of my classmates. So this guy lets Brock Turner go. Since then, all the shit that was in the court documents has come out. Like the guy taking pictures of the woman's titties, standing over with the camera, sending it out to his friends, him blowing a bong and talking about candy flipping and MDMA and got to get his hands on LSD and smoking weed and hash and drinking and drinking and drinking. Look, KAs, the first girlfriend I ever had who was using heroin with her current boyfriend when she was not sneaking away with me was doing it at the KAs. There were 2 or 3 guys I knew, hardcore junkies in 1984 at the KAs. This is the fraternity next to where the woman got raped by the dumpster. So all this shit has come out. You start to wonder, where was the prosecuting attorney? Why is this? Oh, this was part of the court document. I got it. It was part of the court document that the judge used to make a determination about this freaking athlete, the swimmer. Persky looks at all this. It was like, bah, 3 months. I got guys in jail, friends in jail right now, in that same jail in county for freaking parking tickets. It's like the Eddie Murphy skit, you know, when minorities aren't around, white people give each other shit for free. Well, you know, with the skit, it's not really white people, right? White women are not getting shit necessarily. Not necessarily. What is it? It's white dudes. So this dude, he is promising. He's promising. He's got lots of promise. So he's going to jail for 3 months. And when he's in jail, because sex offenders have a hard time in jail, he's going to, rapists don't have a hard time in jail necessarily. Child molesters have a hard time in jail. This guy, he got raped a 23-year-old woman. He's not hanging, but he's in protective custody. Why? For his own safety. Look, let me tell you. These are the twin engines. These things are not mentioned together accidentally. They are not at all mentioned together accidentally. Because money hunger creates a place like Silicon Valley. But Newtown, Chicago, the Boston Marathon, Orlando, these are created in another way. Discontent is deep. And I raised the issue of Kurt Wolff, that guy who I started last week's show out with. The Nazi guy who was like, how come I can't, I'm in a prison, he's in a prisoner of war camp post-war. It's an outrage that I can't go yachting more than once a week. You know, the Jews had it easy. They didn't know they were dying. My men and I die every day in this place. Couldn't go yachting twice a week. You see what I'm saying? This misplaced sense of entitlement it has counterbalanced by this disgruntled discontent that will a red hot engine of anger and hatred. And the counter argument that the guys at Jiu-Jitsu made was, this guy Kurt Wolff, if he had 2 yacht trips a week, would still be unhappy because he wants 3. And if he had 3, he would want 4. And if he had 7, he would look at a guy who said, he's got a nicer yacht. Well, of course, this is the idea behind the Nazi racial ideology, which is completely crazy. Because you don't breed. Why do you have super athletes? And some of these super athletes are African American. It comes back down to genetic diversity. The idea to breed racial purity is weakening the species. The 23 genetic markers, if there's any similarity between them, Tay-Sachs here, these 2 people shouldn't be breeding, but they do. In fact, if you were going to engineer something, you'd be better off taking somebody from Burkina Faso and Iceland and having them mate. The offspring would be healthier, smarter, longer lived. So this idea of perfection through winnowing, it's a nice idea. It's not the way it works. They should have known that. Himmler, as a chicken farmer, should have known that. So, this desire, endless desire, fueled by this more, creates a situation where these guys come over. What did the 9/11 guys do? What were they fond of? Apparently, they'd gotten to Vegas a couple of times. All these guys are whoremongering and strippers. It's like, man, it's like the Cartman thing when he goes to the Hooters. The girl loves me. No, man. You're a mark. You are a customer, like EPMD said. You're a customer. You are a sucker. And if I can't have it, keep in mind, this guy could have gone to a sporting event where basically, essentially, blue collar people, scrape together a few pennies to while away the hours, you know, and the interest of, and those places are heavily, because it's not cheap tickets necessarily. But the guy goes to a hop-in Orlando club, a disposable income. Apparently, it was a really nice club, and it was a gay club. You know, look at, you know, what is that great line? I want to thank God for giving everybody so much and me so little. It rankles and it rankles and it rankles. And these vacant strangers that sit out there and they go back to his father. We had no idea. You know what you need to ask? You need to ask the father, what did you do? Because it's like that scene from a Bronx Tale. The working man is a clown. The little boy says to Robert De Niro, his father. He goes, the working guy is the hero. You think these guys are tough because they have nice suits and nice cars and carry guns? You know, you think it's tough? Try getting up every day at 7 o'clock and going to work and being systematically emasculated by your need to provide for your family in a legal way. That's a subtext. The guy who played the kid in the movie was in prison for fucking murdering somebody on a drug-fueled toot, breaks into an apartment to get some shit to sell so they could buy more drugs, ends up encountering off-duty cop or cop Lalo, I don't remember the kid's name, the kid from Bronx Tale, and actually shoots, again, another crime of more. These are not ideologically driven. These are not ideologically driven. You know, you're talking about some of the most caste-bound societies. All the 9/11 guys are all Saudi Arabian. You know what they say about Lebanon? Yeah, the war is over. Man, you can't get 24 hours straight of electricity. That might make you crazy. You know, you can live in America. It's a two, F.R. Leavis and C.P. Snow wrote answer books to each other called Two Cultures. I think C.P. Snow wrote Two Cultures, and F.R. Leavis wrote the answer book called Two Cultures ? So that the bald one is supporting the Donald, not a surprise, not a surprise at all. You know why? Because when those two come together, the sausages, if you remember my sausage on the plate theory, the sausages that are exchanged are theoretical sausages. It's the best kind of money abstraction ever because you don't actually have to give a sausage. Hey, you wash my back when the thing comes. It's called patronage. A cop buddy of mine helped me out. He goes, you owe me. I go, you got it. It's like the line from The Godfather. Now I may ask you for a favor, and that day may never come. But if I do not expect to be refused. Whatever. 10 years from now, you ask me for a favor, you do me a favor, I'm doing one for you. I'm not one of these West Coast pricks who are like, well, I thought you would give it to me for free. I had somebody I lent them $4,000. I thought it was a gift. Oh, you thought it was a gift, huh? Mm-hmm. And she eventually ended up saying to me, I can't help but feel like this is, well, actually, this wasn't her line, but it just might as well have been. This is one long revenge fantasy of yours. Why would you think that? It makes sense, rich guy. So, you know, and when you get a Chris Weidman, you know, if he but blench, I told you I'd get to MMA. If he but blench, we would know the course. If you watched last week's Knuckle Up, we talked about Chris Weidman. What does Chris Weidman do? People go, oh, he's no longer lost battalion. Oh, he's lost his woodpile. He's back in action. He's not back in action. He's not back in action. It's not, he is hoping. He's heard some vague rumor in the mist by the woodpile that Bisping might have a call out to him. And he starts, it didn't take him very long. Suddenly the neck was feeling better. Chris Weidman's neck was feeling a little bit better. And so he's calling out Bisping. And Bisping says, I got, why don't you fight Luke Rockhold like you were supposed to? Zingo. That's what that's about, baby. Zingo. Maybe you could beat me, but I'm the champ and I'm not going to give you the chance right now. And Rockhold is like, I'll get in there. I'll kill you. Oh, you got a head full of steam. You're angry, huh? You're upset. You're upset. You're angry and you're upset. I got it. Well, you know what? You know what? You run along, run along. And what I said, Bisping says, yeah, I'd like the championship fight. The next one to be in England. Zazazingo. There you go. Zazazingo. Double bird. So, Weidman, the neck is better now, magically, huh? Good. I'm glad it's good enough for you to fight Rocco, because that's the fight you got to fight. You know why you got to fight that fight? Because you're not the champion. If he but blinch, I don't know my course. How many of you still believe in the neck issue now? You believe it? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And I have to tell you, I'm not going to talk about I have absolutely no interest in talking about the Guida and Nate Diaz thing. That's about sausages and plates, baby. It's about sausages and plates. Nate's got a lot of sausages on his plate. You know, he rushed him. I'll kick your ass again, Guida. Man, you know what Guida was doing? He was swinging. He was swinging in the mist. Because that's where he is, man. That's where he is. Nowhere. Nowhere. And you know, the Helwani thing is super interesting. Deadspin has been covering it. Everybody's been covering it. And there's this trembling, breathless outrage about what happened to, and people are conflating this with what happened to Burt Watson and what happened with Stitch, and look at it as like an aggressive overreach and exercise of the bald one's power. Let me ask you a question. If the bald one finds somebody stealing office supplies, do you think they should fire that person? If the bald one has somebody who shows up for work late and leaves early, do you think they should fire them? If the bald one finds somebody drunk or passed out in the job, you surely can't be saying that that Mr. Helwani has done any things. No, I'm not saying that at all. What do all those three cases have in common? They were working for the bald one. Key bono, baby. Who benefits? Where's your money coming from? You know, I mean, and I'm not quoting any strange outside source. I'm talking about the dude's own source itself. He's like, okay, I took the money. I shouldn't have. It was unethical. It was ethical. It was ethical. It was unethical. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Who am I? Who am I? Look, I've said, I mean, the problem with these guys with these limited imaginations, and I've said it before. When we were in Japan and they said, oh, what about you wouldn't sell out? I go, I'd sell out so fast it'd make your heads. Why? Because my offering is unselloutable, right? How would Oxbow sell out exactly? Any Oxbow song, I can't sing well in a traditional sense. So any Oxbow song would be like some guy wanted me, some big producer guy, like famous, like a guy that you fucking heard of, contacted, but like an art guy, contacted me and said, man, dude is interested in you, wants to do something to you. Can you sing? I go, yeah, I can sing. Can you sing R&B? We were trying to get R. Kelly. Well, we want just an R. Kelly type. Can you do that? I was like, fuck yes, because my way is always to say yes. Don't be like these dipshits who like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. Some guy says, I got a 60-page classical musical score. Can you read music? I go, I cannot read music, but I can do it. How are you going to do it? I'll find a friend who can read music and they'll play it for me. I don't say no. I'm too busy saying yeah. I gotta sit in the corner like no. What the? I'm like my buddy, the sports agent brother, who says he's a bricklayer. In fact, doesn't know how to lay a single brick. Gets fired after about 6 days. That's 6 days of money that he didn't have. I'm always saying yes. Always. Always. Not one of those dipshits who's saying no. Always. I'll figure it out. Can you read classical music? Yeah. I'll do it. That's it. Hey, I want you to produce our record. Hey, if I got a good engineer, I can produce your record. Why not? There are people out there who know twice as much doing half as well of a job as I could do. When I see I see the muling, and I say I'm unsalloutable. And if you had the bald one had any ounce of, he would say, you know what, here's a parallel. Joe Rogan. I got a couple of calls. Who I suspect were from Joe Rogan, but I don't answer blocked calls. And I don't actually answer calls for numbers I don't know. So he would have had to leave a message. So no, he was in the Bay Area this weekend. Why are you ducking me, Joe? Why are you ducking me? Come on, knuckle up. You know me. I'm the guy with the grocery bag, the grocery bag suitcase at the UFC. Friends with Jake Shields. We're brothers. East Coast habitues. Come on down to the show. We can sit here in our underwear, shoot the shit. You can smell Popeye's gassy ass. It'll be perfect. In other words, Joe is he's got his own opinions, and when he's on the job. There's never any confusion. In my mind, Joe Rogan is probably one of the more ethical journalists out there and could honestly stake the claim at being a journalist. I don't feel, not for a second, weird or bad about Joe winning Commentator of the Year. He's not perjuring himself. And that's all I got to say about that. And somebody's texting me right now, want me to talk about Brock. Forget it. Forget it. I have no interest in talking about Brock. Like I said on last week's show, straight up bullshit. The only good thing about it, and it's good for all of us sadists, is that they gave him Mark Hunt to fight. That's fantastical. That is fantastical. Not going to be an easy fight because Mark Hunt, much like Chet Congo and much like Overeem, are these like quick studies. They're not one of these guys who stand up and just like ignore the ground. And insofar as possible, they paid attention. A lot of Overeem's finishes were submissions, weirdly enough. Mark Hunt can actually work himself up off the ground with a big, and listen to this. It would make sense. Oh, Brock has got this wrestling thing. Yeah. He's got the wrestling thing. But like a lot of wrestlers, it's not jiu-jitsu. Is he going to submit this guy? Well, he submitted Shane Carwin. That was weird. Yeah. And now there's some talk about Shane Carwin being back. That's also weird. But I do want to talk the funeral. I got people going out to the funeral, the Kimbo Slice funeral. And so I want to close and talk about that. And I've been waiting very patiently. And I've been waiting, I guess, for the autopsy report to come back. Man, I don't have to talk about this and talk about Kimbo Slice in the same breath. I love that guy. He was a Horatio I didn't know him personally, but he was a Horatio Alger exemplar of, like Mark, Ragged Dick and Mark the Match Boy. You didn't read any Horatio Alger, man. I love those. You get up from reading those books, you feel great. Guy punching people in the face in backyards, multi-millionaire. But the pro wrestling aspect of it, look, bodybuilders, as far as I know, took larger amounts of steroids. Larger. But everybody had it in their bodybuilding DNA to cycle, 8 to 12 week cycle. It was only in the last 12 years, like, okay, a lot of fighters in the lower weight classes are upset. I don't want to get out of my weight class. So they're starting to use low dose steroids. And I discovered, hey, low dose steroids, not that bad of an idea. But then some guys like, I'm being bested on the mat. What the hell's happening? So they're doing low dose steroids, but they're doing it for longer. And they eventually edge out of their weight category and say, screw it. I'll go up to the next one and I'll beat it. And then you get this perma cycle, like professional wrestlers have. It's not real sport, real competition. So they have to look good and be strong and athletic. And let me tell you, if you've never taken steroids, it's a tough drug. I've taken it. I publicly admitted several times. It's a tough drug. It makes you want to do it. It's like Tom Waits talking about the devil's bullets. It makes you want to do it. Start taking it, gets hard to stop. So I don't know that these are connected. And I did not come to bury the man. I came to praise him. But 42-year-old men don't drop dead from natural causes. There could be a family history of heart trouble. The mass on the liver concerns me. I had a friend, Gary Apramian, a 19-year-old New York powerlifter, died. He had his liver, there was a 50-pound tumor on his liver. Dude weighed like 315, 320 pounds. So a 50-pound liver, but it was a 50-pound tumor on the liver. He would curl the back end of a Toyota. I saw him do it. I'm not saying somebody else. I said, with my own eyes, I saw him do it. Went out from the gym with a towel, put it under the bumper of the car, like some Toyota Corolla, 1979, 78, and curled the car, the back end. He died. Yeah, I saw Bigger, Stronger, Faster too, and I know I have many more people I know who have drunk themselves to death. My friend Karen Spees did it a few weeks ago, 47 years old. You know, but cigarettes, lung cancer. What are your minds right? Dead, lung cancer. But you got, I mean, it's tough, right? Because bodybuilders can cycle because their cycling is based on shows. I got a show in November, I'll cycle on, and you reverse engineer it. You reverse engineer your steroid cycle so that you are at what is felt to be a peak when you're standing on stage at your competition. And post-competition, you ideally, if you're a purist, you'll say, I was on for 10 weeks, and now at the very least, I want to be off for 20 weeks. It's all things in moderation, baby. I don't know what's going on with my throat, but I'm not drinking a lot, not smoking. I'm hoping it's allergies. And yes, I've taken steroids, but I stick to the 8 weeks on at the very minimum. It's got, and especially as fighters are doing it, even though they might have a fight twice a year, 3 times a year, they're training every day. And the training is an incremental step toward this perception in their mind, again, much like the disgruntled, discontented, who see a Z28 and have to have a Z28. And the fact that they can't have a Z28 causes this internal conflict that maybe makes gunning down a club full of people make sense. I can't have it, and guess what? Neither can you. I'm going to shit over your party on your parade right now in the most complete way possible. The Nero Order. Hitler issued a Nero Order at the end of the war. He told Albert Speer, bomb the bridges, the freeways, the power plants, the schools, the works of art. I want you to drop salt on the fields. I want you to blow up the farms. I want you to destroy this country. The German people have failed me. The Nero Order. I can't have it, and nobody will. And Hitler was so successful because he very specifically tapped into a deep, dark, personal, id-based fucking human desire. It made sense to everybody without it being spoken. That's why I'm waiting to see who the first person to step up to take political advantage of this. I mean, because the NRA will say the same thing. It's like, all right, well, we need to... But then even they are like, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't care what Trojan horse you use to describe it. So the steroids, it all ties together in a very strange way. And my caution, and I guess the essential thrust of round 311, which is where we are, is... like Mel Brooks said in The 12 Chairs, one of my favorite comedies of all time, expect the worst, hope for the best. And an added proviso, be prepared. If you hear sounds that sound like fireworks, probably not. Anyway, I'm hoping that's not too much of a downer show. We got a UFC next week, June 18th. We're going to be talking about later on Care Don't Care preview. If I Did It. If I Did It is stacked this week. Stacked. You know, Alexi and Nate and I talk offline. I got to tell you, If I Did It for this next week, stacked, Jack. People are fucking up like crazy. Stacky Jackie. And Care Don't Care preview should be a short show. I like that there's a June 18th fight. I'm not so super excited about the fights, but I'm not going to tip my hand. I mean, you know, there's some strange fights, the fights that you might not expect me to like that I'm liking, that you might expect me to like that I don't like. We'll talk about it in Care Don't Care. If you want to see me on Twitter, sorry, you got to, I lock it. I want to know who's at the party, but it's at Eugene S. Robinson. Below this piece, if you've made it this far, you know in the intro, I write it every week, even though other people's names appear. I write about myself in the third person, that's fine. I'll put a link to the shit that I've done on Ozzy the week before that I think is the most interesting. And that's about it. I think I covered everything. Let me know how you feel. More stories. Are you like this other comment that was like, fuck your stories, just get to the meat. I don't think the stories detract. And in actual fact, this is the only forum where I get to share these stories. I mean, I do on Ozzy's, the E button, on Ozzy's Facebook Live page and the E button. But, you know, I can't make with the fucks and the shits. I can't talk about the orgies and the outre sex things. I did talk about, I gave you the most PG version of beating up this guy who tried to rape a friend of mine on the Facebook Live thing. I may put that link below, I don't know. Some of you have heard the fuller version. Maybe. But this is I am the last truly free voice in America. And even if the bald one were to hire me, it's like, hey man, put me on a 2-second delay, Jack, and you take out the stuff you don't want me to say, but you know I can't stop myself. Like the blues song says, don't start me talking, I'll tell you everything I know. I can't. You get me? You know that? I'm not gonna complain. You put me beep, 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 beep. But I'm not confused when people start paying me at all. Just like that movie Empires of the Sun, where the Japanese soldier caves in. I am, sir, an officer of the British Army, cracks his head, pick up that rock. John Malkovich jumps out of the truck. The guy goes, no, I'm okay. Malkovich looks at him like, and picks up the rock. I understand about picking up rocks. Anyway, this is the end of the show. Thanks for listening this far, all 51 of you. We'll see you next week. Look what you made me do!